Hello everyone, it's going to be the last of this series. I wanted to end the tutorial with something big, so I thought a lot about what the last video should be about. Then I figured that what beginners would wonder most was the first 30 moves. The patterns when the game starts and how to set them up seemed to be what beginners wanted to know the most. So I prepared this episode full of patterns. First of all, it will be helpful if you memorize all the patterns. Okay, then let's start. There is a stone on the flower point. Here, when white approaches with nice move, we know this is called a nice approach. Black has 4 possible moves he can make. Let's look at each one of them. The easiest pattern is to do a nice move. Then the pattern goes into sliding and extending. White is happy with the area on the side and black is happy with the area on top. Let's see that again. When white approaches, responding to white's approach with the same move, and the pattern is complete. This is the first pattern at the flower point. Black can choose this move. Let white extend to the center. White can be settled with a 2-stone 3-space extension. This is the second pattern. Did you get all that? Another choice is to pincer. If black wanted to threaten this white stone, then he could play the pincer move. Then, if white invades a 3-3 point, it becomes this. Duk, 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 duk. I will show you one more time. If black tries to block, white can push, black will extend. White then bends and connects. Then black has a weak point here, so black should respond. And then white jumps. This is the third pattern at flower point. Next one is attaching on top. It is called a attach extend pattern. Black attaches and extended. These days, it's popular to play here. If black responds, then white can defend the lower part. In the past, it progressed with white extends and black defends. If white reinforces his weak point, then black also reinforces. Black's this move is for protecting his weak point from getting cut off. So, this one or this one is the fourth pattern of flower point. Alright, we've just looked at 4 patterns at the flower point. Now it's time for 3 4-point patterns. You know, this point is called a 3-4 point. We can approach the opponent like so. If we do an approach 1 space upper 9 out of 10 times, the opponent will do this move. Then it's bending, extending, and then protecting the weak point. When black defends the top, we can do a 2-stone 3-space extension. This pattern shows up the most when they do a one-space upper approach, so that formation comes up frequently when an upper approach is done. You should remember this or this pattern. Now for a nice approach. We can see a lot of approaches from below these days. I will show you two of the simplest patterns here. First is to respond with this move. This is very solid. Then white will do a one stone, two space extension to end the pattern. There is another similar variation of black playing a nice move. White can do the same move as before to end the pattern. Next is, like at the flower point, black can defend the corner. Then white can do a two stone, three space extension. White can place it lower or higher. Both are recognized as patterns. I've just shown you three patterns at a 3-4 point. The first one was this, and the second one was this or this, and the third one was this or this. Now let's do some 3-3 point patterns. You know, this point is called a 3-3 point. 3-3 patterns are a bit tricky, so I thought about doing them later, but I'm seeing a lot of 3-3 patterns in present games, so I couldn't not do them. I've picked out some easy ones. Don't worry. As before, you can do a nice approach here as well. But placing a stone on the 3-3 point is very popular these days. If black blocks off one side, white must push. Now black has several options to choose. The easiest one is to extend. Then white will do a nice slide. This is the end of the pattern. Isn't it simple? When black wants to go somewhere else fast, he can extend like this and tenuki. Also, when black extends, white can push and play like this. Black usually plays somewhere else. This is another pattern. So, if black extends and white does a nice slide, it ends quickly. And when white pushes, then black bends and tenuki. Both are patterns. Black can bend and white bends. Black extends, both keep pushing, and white tenuki. Okay? This is another pattern. Here black gains control of the outside. For white, he has taken over black's corner, so he's pretty happy about that. When black bends, white bends as well. Just before I showed you what happens when black extends. But another pattern is for black to do another bend. Then white takes one stone but loses the corner. This is another pattern. A complex pattern would be for black to place a net like this. Then white could clash with the stone and bend. Do you remember the first formation I showed you? This one. It becomes the same form as that one. Now you see, this form is the same. When black plays here, people who like simplicity plays this and ends the pattern. But another variation would be for white to attach onto the stone. But then this pattern becomes too complicated, so you don't need to know this one now. Just remember to clash and bend. To summarize, if white plays 3 point, and when black blocks one path, white must push. Here black has options. If he extends, white does a knight slide to end the pattern. If white pushes, black bends to end the pattern. And when black bends, white also bends. If black extends, it goes on for a few moves and ends. And if black does another bend, white take 1 stone and black take 2 stones. This is another pattern. And if black places a net, white gets close and bend. Alright, we've gone over flower point patterns, 3-4 point patterns, and 3-3 point patterns. Now I want to show you how pro players use these patterns in real games. Playing is one way to learn, but watching others play is also helpful. This game was played on March 8, 2020. Black is Sang-hun Han, 8 dan, and white is Jeong-gi An, 5 dan. Both take a flower point. Nowadays, they immediately start off with a 3-3 invasion. And a pattern that I've introduced comes out. The simplest one. On this corner is done. White tenukis and take control of the flower point on the upper left corner. Now, both players have to take the remaining corner. For black, black chose to take this 3-4 point. White does a nice approach, and we see a 3-4 point pattern emerge. Do you remember? And here, white can do a 2 stone 3 space extension to either A or B. In the game, white chose A. Then black went to the upper left corner. Here we see the 3-3 pattern I've showed you. White chose bending, so black gets 1 stone and white gets 2 stones. Then black defends his corner. Also, it's popular to do a nice approach after the opponent has enclosed with a nice move. It feels like it's a bit late timing, but this move is very popular these days. Then black places here, and we've seen the first 29 moves of the game. The next game I want to show you is it's a match between Ji-hyun Lee 9 dan and Jung Choi 9 dan on March 10th, 2020. Ji-hyun Lee 9 dan is playing black. White places on the flower point. Black fortified his corner with a 1 space move over here. And as white approaches, black responds to white's corner too. Then white plays a 1 space pincer. And here is where the flower point pattern shows up. Black attaches and then jumps one space. So you can see black expressing that he's going to take the corner. Then white does a 2-stone 3-space extension. Although there's a stone here, but the space is too wide, so white places one more stone in between. Then we see a 3-3-point invasion. We've also learned this pattern as well. Another pattern on the corner has ended after white places a stone on the right side. This is not a part of the pattern, but we will examine a couple of more moves. Black attaches, then extends. I told you about the attach extend pattern at the flower point. Remember? This is similar to that. In the real game, white played here, and then black tenukis and the lower left corner is played. This was 30 moves of the game. Okay, this is a game that happened on February 8th, 2020. Black is 정최 9단 and white is 상일변 9단. The game started off normally. Here we see the 3-4 point pattern we've learned. Black extended slightly high. Then white played a 3-3 invasion. Black blocks and covers. Here's another pattern of clashing and bending. The pattern ends here and black approaches here. We see the attach extend pattern here. The one I told you before was when black plays here, white responds and black defends this area. But we see that in this case, black already has a strong stone up in the left side, so white played now a bit differently. White pushed it and tenukid. This is because the side already has a black stone defending it, so white doesn't seem amused by it. Let me show you again. So white put on a show for the people watching and moved another place. And because this is a good spot, black plays a stone, then they go to the empty corner on top. This is how the game progressed. We will stop here. It's easy to understand what's going on. Some of the patterns we learned have shown up, and you can see black wanting to take control of the right side of the board. So he made this OR and extended. Alright, this is today's last game I will show you. Black is Young-gu Lee, 9단, and white is Min-jun Sin, 9단. It was played recently on March 3rd, 2020. In this game, a lot of 3-3 point patterns emerge. We see it happening in the lower left corner first. Black pushes and white extends. Black clashes and bends instead of sliding. As white takes the lower right corner, black takes the remaining one. We see another 3-3 point pattern. Both players playing it very simply. Because white tenukid, black places a stone on the lower left corner. White then approaches. I've only shown you a one-space pincer, but this pincer is also popular one. Now we can see the pincer pattern. You remember? Right now this space is a bit wide, so we see black keeps this area with one more stone. Then white extends here. This move seems too much sturdy, but it's also a move that fits with the game on the board. Then black forms the last 3-3 formation. We see that all the corners have formed a 3-3 point pattern. This time is the double bending pattern. Black take 1 stone and white take 2 stones. If we go a little bit further from here, black does a shoulder hit. This move is to reduce the opponent's territory shape. Both push until black jumps. It's normal to defend with a nice move, but in the real game, black chose to push here. And we've now seen up to 50 moves of the game. All the plays were very standard and easy to understand. Starting off at the corner and extending to the sides while keeping your opponent in check, also reducing your opponent's territory. Okay, how was today's lesson? We learned many simple patterns, and you could see that even the pros use these patterns in their real games. I wanted to show you that pros don't use complex patterns in games. Thank you for loving my beginner school lesson. I will see you next time with another exciting, informative lesson series. Thank you. Bye.